going to talk about a kind of a small application that a colleague of mine, Ian Escher, who's also in the back of the room, has developed to look at, try to use text messaging as a tool to try to collect simple fisheries data. And I should acknowledge North Carolina Sea Grant, which is our program. Sea Grant is, if you're not familiar with Sea Grant is a state and federal partnership program that's university-based that provides non-biased scientific information to coastal users to make best management decisions. We also do education and outreach. I imagine that there's not a lot of knowledge about recreational fisheries and issues in this group, so just a very quick background. Recreational fishing is extremely important to the country. Just in 2007, there were about 83 million fishing trips. And unlike commercial fisheries, which most people may be familiar with, commercial fisheries have, as a requirement, as conditions of permits, they typically have mandatory reporting. But for recreational fisheries, with the extreme number of anglers, and back when they created the first survey back in the early 70s, they did it as a survey method. The problem is this national survey has evolved, and now they're having to use this survey data, which has been deemed inappropriate by many people as a method to use that data to make management decisions. So even beside that, there are relatively few opportunities for individual anglers to provide self-reported data to fisheries management agencies to supplement the survey data. And the lack of a portable electronic device or any type of web-based or mobile reporting in the last several years has been a detriment to developing new technologies. So Ian and I looked at started thinking about mobile phones, and obviously from the bullets here on the slide, mobile phones are quite popular throughout the world. I mean, to me, it was a natural thing to consider, and especially when you think about that. More people have a mobile phone subscription than they do to an internet-connected PC, and that's just not in the United States, that's the world over. And I imagine quite a few people in this room would probably say, well, why not develop a smartphone application as opposed to a short message service? Well, bear in mind, this project was started back in late 2007, and considering that the demographic for fisheries, primarily recreational anglers, is kind of the lowest common denominator. So there's not a lot of smartphone users in recreational fisheries. Obviously increasing every day, but standard phones are more prevalent. Also, for those who are not aware, SMS is considered to be the king of data because it's used across all platforms throughout the world. And of course, I don't have to tell you that SMS costs are extremely cheap compared to data plans. And something that I've learned through Ian is that the coding required to develop SMS-based applications are pretty minimal. And of course, it requires no software to be downloaded to a phone, so basically any phone can be used. So we wanted to evaluate this system, and so we developed a compact syntax, which we termed to be RECTEXT. And basically what we did was we took all the species that were currently in the study area, and we assigned a two-letter alphabetic code. For example, red snapper would be RS, to make it very simple. And of course, for effective fisheries management, even for recreational fisheries, you really only need some really basic information, which would be the location, capture, the number of anglers, the amount of effort that was expended, and of course the disposition of the catch. Kept or released by species, number, that sort of thing. So in the pilot study, we had some seed funding from my organization, and we actually used Twitter as the aggregating service because it was a free service, and to actually to compile the reports sent by fishermen to our database, standalone database. So in this study, we were not looking at validating the reports in terms of whether or not they were actually legitimate. We did work with these captains over a 4.5-month period, and we used these track phones that were available at the big box store, prepaid, and we pre-registered these phones with Twitter, and such that the captains knew nothing about it. I just said basically send your report using the syntax that we gave basically cards. And if I don't know if Ian, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody's got this card.
Not quite able to right now.
So we basically gave them instructions that they keep in their wallet and on how to do it. And that article was published last April, and the link here on the bottom is a peer-reviewed open access journal. I encourage anybody to go check it out. It gives a lot more information about the issues involved with recreational fisheries management and data collection. But we found some very interesting things with the study. This just highlights 6 captains submitted 128 reports describing about 2,000 fish over the 4.5-month study. Surprisingly, there were very few errors, data entry errors, associated with the data. We were able to see the raw data as it was submitted, and of course how it was transcribed into the database. In fact, something I didn't say here, but 2 of the oldest captains who had never used text messaging before made the 2 or 3 errors that we saw. Most reports were received in real time, thanks to Twitter. There was some delays. Again, this was back in early 2008 when Twitter was having some issues with functionality and exporting some of their information to third-party sites. We suggested looking at it to a third-party aggregating service. And I guess the take-home message from this study was that we determined that this method allows scientists to collect just a little bit of information from almost everybody in a real-time format. And with the fact that since they're submitting it from their person, this could be a way to actually validate those reports on site to lead some credibility to self-reported data, which is the really big crux to any type of citizen science application. If you can't validate what somebody's submitting, then it's going to have a lesser value.